Texas Chainsaw Massacre. 20 facts I bet you didn't know. Number 1. Real working chainsaw. When you watch Leatherface swing his chainsaw, you might assume there's movie magic keeping everyone safe. There wasn't. What you're seeing is a real working chainsaw being handled inches away from real people. During Kirk's death scene, the blade came within inches of William Vale's head. There's no trick angle saving him, just trust and timing. During the final sequence, the crew had to carefully move around Gunnar Hansen as he wildly swung the chainsaw, because one wrong step could have ended the shoot permanently. The closest call didn't even involve another actor. During the night chase through the woods, Hansen slipped and fell. The chainsaw flew out of his hands into the darkness, still running. He had no idea where it would land. All he could do was cover his head and hope for the best. The chainsaw hit the ground just a few feet away. So when the movie feels dangerous, it's because it was. Number 2. Bare bones budget. The entire production operated on a budget of roughly $140,000, an amount so small that every decision required compromise and risk. There were no luxury trailers, no backup equipment, and no spare resources waiting if something went wrong. Cast members often helped move lights, adjust cameras, and carry gear between locations. Meals were basic, and comfort did not exist. That lack of money forced the production to rely on real environments, real tools, and real physical effort. The film looks raw because it had no choice. Every cut corner increased the danger, but it also added intensity that could never be recreated under safer conditions. Number 3. Broomstick prodding was real. When you watch the dinner sequence and see Sally bound, screaming, and prodded with a broomstick, it feels invasive in a way that's hard to shake. That's because you're not watching movie violence play out safely. You're watching an actor take on real pain. Marilyn Burns gave explicit permission for it. She told Jim Sedow to hit her and not hold back. Take after take, you're seeing real bruises accumulate. By the 8th shot, Sedow wasn't pretending anymore. He later admitted he leaned into it, really striking her to sell the chaos of the scene. When they finally yelled cut, Marilyn Burns fainted from exhaustion and pain. What makes this detail even more unsettling is that the prop was supposed to be safer. Director Tobe Hooper requested a fake broomstick to protect Burns, but the fake version had a steel rod inside it. It hurt more than a real broom handle would have. When you feel drained watching the final act, that's not accidental. You're watching someone push themselves to the edge, and the camera never looks away. Before we move to the next fact, be sure to hit like and subscribe. More unsettling details and deeper reveals are coming. Number 4. Inspired by pigs and patience. When you really watch Leatherface, you notice he doesn't act like a typical movie villain. He doesn't feel confident or in control. He panics. He freezes. Sometimes he looks scared himself. That behavior came from real research, not guesswork. Gunnar Hansen had almost no dialogue, and his face was completely hidden behind a mask. So everything about Leatherface had to be communicated through movement and sound. When director Tobe Hooper told Hansen to make Leatherface squeal like a pig, Hansen took it literally. He went out into the country and studied real pigs, watching how they moved and reacted when stressed or cornered. That animal panic became part of the character. But he didn't stop there. To make Leatherface feel mentally unstable, Hansen visited a mental hospital in Austin and quietly observed patients. He watched how they rocked, wandered, froze up, or reacted suddenly without warning. Leatherface isn't evil in a clean, movie way. He's overwhelmed, confused, and unpredictable. Once you realize that behavior was built from pigs and real people, it makes the character far more unsettling. Number 5. Genuine Texas Farmhouse. The farmhouse was not constructed for the film and didn't benefit from controlled studio conditions, because it already existed in rural Texas long before cameras arrived, carrying years of decay inside its walls. Production team filled the space with real animal bones, feathers, and remains gathered directly from slaughterhouses, using nothing artificial to dress the set. Heat pushed the smell deep into the wood, fabric, and clothing, making it impossible to escape once inside. Air barely moved through the rooms, and the actors often stepped outside between takes simply to breathe without discomfort. The odor clung to hair and skin, following people even after leaving the location. The house did not feel staged. It felt occupied by something deeply unpleasant, and that atmosphere required no acting effort to create unease. Number 6. Truckload of dead animals. When you look at the Sawyer house, it feels rotten in a way most horror sets never quite match. That's because what you're seeing wasn't clever set dressing. It was real death, dragged straight onto the property. To decorate the house with bones and remains, production couldn't find enough animal props. So instead, a dump truck pulled up during filming and unloaded more than 100 freshly euthanized animals into the backyard. Dogs, cats, everything. Straight from the city pound. Even Toby Hooper said it freaked everyone out. Then it got worse. To keep the animals from decomposing too fast, makeup artist Dottie Pearl injected them with formaldehyde by hand. At one point, the needle went through a dead dog's leg and into her own. She injected herself with formaldehyde and kept working. Eventually, the crew had to burn the remains with gasoline. Huge flames, thick smoke, a smell so bad it lingered. When you feel like that house is wrong on a cellular level, now you know why. Number 7. Brutal summer heat. Filming took place during an unforgiving summer when temperatures regularly climbed past 100 degrees, turning every scene into an endurance test rather than a controlled production environment. Leatherface's costume made conditions worse, trapping heat against his body with heavy materials that didn't allow airflow. Sweat soaked through layers that were never cleaned during the shoot. Dirt and stains built over time, adding weight and discomfort with each passing day. Lighting equipment raised the temperature even further, and without the budget for climate control or multiple costume changes, relief never arrived. Crew members became exhausted. Concentration faded. Physical strain became constant. That exhaustion appears on screen because it never disappeared during filming. Number 8. Endless dinner scene. The dinner scene demanded more than 27 straight hours of filming, trapping the cast around a table under harsh lighting while decaying food sat inches from their faces, slowly breaking down as heat intensified the smell. Space was tight. The air felt heavy, muscles cramped from staying seated for long periods. Nausea spread through the room as time dragged on. Tempers shortened and voices strained. Marilyn Burns screamed repeatedly until her voice weakened and control slipped away. By the end, her reactions no longer came from performance, but from physical and emotional exhaustion. There were no breaks, no chance to reset the environment, and no escape from the moment until the scene was complete. What appears on screen reflects a genuine breakdown that unfolded naturally during filming. Number 9. Chaotic forest chase. The chase through the woods became one of the most dangerous sequences to film. It took place at night with limited visibility while Gunnar Hansen ran at full speed, holding a powered chainsaw. Marilyn Burns pushed her body to the limits to keep up the pace. The ground offered no forgiveness, with roots and uneven surfaces hidden beneath darkness. During one take, Hansen slipped and barely avoided serious injury to himself with the blade. Filming did not stop. Resetting meant losing time and light they could not afford to spare. Burns repeated the run again and again, sometimes close enough to feel the heat from the chainsaw engine against her skin. Fear required no direction. It came naturally from the situation itself, and that intensity carried straight into the finished scene. Number 10. Based on a real doctor. You've probably heard that Leatherface was inspired by Ed Gein, and that's true. But what most people don't realize is that part of Leatherface came from a real story told to Tobe Hooper, and it's more unsettling than anything fictional. A doctor he knew told him that while he was a pre-med student, he went into a morgue, skinned a cadaver, and made a mask out of it for Halloween. That image stuck with Hooper. He took that real-life story and twisted it into something horrifying. Leatherface wouldn't just wear human skin, he'd wear different faces depending on how he felt. One for fear, one for anger, one for trying to please his family. So when you see Leatherface changing masks, you're not just watching a creepy costume choice. You're watching a character built from a real story, filtered through fear, imagination, and obsession. Number 11. Real blood used. With almost no money allocated for effects, shortcuts became common. During the finger-cutting scene, the blade made real contact with the skin, producing actual blood rather than a fabricated substitute. Marilyn Burns allowed it to happen because exhaustion had replaced resistance by that stage of filming. Injuries did not stop there. Scratches from running through brush, bruises from falls, and cuts from sharp objects accumulated throughout the shoot. Some marks were hidden with makeup, others stayed visible. Pain became routine rather than exceptional. The boundary between acting and reality faded without effort. Number 12. Cameraman's near disaster. During the final chase sequences, the camera operator faced one of the most dangerous moments of the production while attempting to film a shot that required him to run backwards at speed while keeping Leatherface centered in the frame. The ground was uneven, visibility was limited, and his focus stayed locked on the lens rather than the path behind him. At one critical moment, he tripped and lost balance while the chainsaw remained active and closing in. Gunnar Hansen reacted instantly, pulling the blade away at the last possible second. The scene did not stop, and the take remained usable. Number 13. Nearly ruined title. Before release, the film almost carried a name that would have destroyed its impact before audiences ever entered a theater. The working title, Head Cheese, stayed attached to early drafts longer than expected, despite its association with deli food rather than fear. That name failed to communicate tone or threat, and would have reduced the film to a joke instantly. A late change replaced it with a title that felt direct and unsettling, allowing the movie to stand on its own without undercutting its identity. That decision likely saved the film from instant dismissal. Number 14. Unusual payment. The opening narration came from John Larroquette before his rise to fame, and his payment for the role was not money, credit negotiations, or future promises. He received a single marijuana joint. That exchange was confirmed years later and reflected how informal and stripped down the production truly was. The voice that opens the film sets the tone for everything that follows. Yet it came from a deal so small, it barely registered at the time. Number 15. False, true claim. The opening narration presents the film as connected to real events, a choice designed to disturb viewers before the first scene even begins. This statement was never meant as a factual declaration, but as a psychological hook that played into public unease during the era. High-profile crimes had already shaped public fear, and the suggestion that this film reflected something real made the experience feel closer and more personal. Many viewers left theaters believing they had watched a dramatized account of real killings, proving the tactic achieved its intended effect. Number 16. Leatherface stayed in character. When you watch the film, you're not just seeing Leatherface. You're feeling the space around him. That wasn't accidental. Gunnar Hansen deliberately kept his distance from the cast when cameras weren't rolling. You wouldn't catch him joking or chatting. He stayed quiet, separate, and unsettling off-screen. Here's the part most people miss. The actors playing his victims avoided him too. Not because they were told to, but because they wanted their fear to be real. Add brutal Texas heat, a thick wool costume he couldn't change, and days of isolation, and Hansen became someone you instinctively stayed away from. That's why scenes like Jerry entering the slaughter room still hit. When he turns and screams, you're hearing a real reaction. That was the first time he saw Leatherface in full form. And once you know that, you feel it every time. Number 17. Crowded department store. When you think about Leatherface's chainsaw, it's hard to imagine the movie without it. But that idea didn't come from horror movies or folklore. It came from frustration. Tobe Hooper was trapped in a department store during the holidays, shoulder to shoulder with thousands of people. As Hooper pushed through the crowd, he drifted into the hardware section. Right in front of him was a rack of chainsaws. At that moment, the thought hit him. If he turned one on, the crowd wouldn't argue. They wouldn't hesitate. They would part instantly. Fear would create space. That's when the weapon clicked. That idea became the heartbeat of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The chainsaw isn't just a tool of violence. It's a symbol of panic, intrusion, and the sudden loss of control. Once you know it was born from something as ordinary as holiday shopping, it somehow becomes even more unsettling. Number 18. Actress physical toll. By the end of filming, Marilyn Burns had endured weeks of physical strain that left lasting marks on her body. She had been dragged through thorny brush, struck by debris, restrained for extended periods, and repeatedly covered in thick layers of blood. Some of that blood came from real injuries rather than makeup. Bruises stayed visible. Cuts healed slowly. Fatigue replaced adrenaline. When the final scenes were filmed, fear required no effort because exhaustion had already taken over. Her performance carries weight because it reflects what her body had already endured by that point. Number 19. Audience reactions. When the film hit theaters, reactions surprised even those involved in its release. Some audiences became physically overwhelmed, with reports of fainting and vomiting during screenings. Certain local theaters chose to stop showing the film entirely after repeated incidents. Others restricted access heavily. The response turned the movie into a public event rather than just another release. Word spread quickly, drawing attention through reputation rather than promotion. The intensity of those reactions helped cement the film's place in popular culture. Number 20. Massive financial impact. Despite the harsh conditions, constant risk, and minimal budget, the film achieved financial success far beyond expectations. From an initial cost of approximately $140,000, it went on to earn more than $30 million, an outcome that reshaped independent filmmaking possibilities. Sequels, remakes, and reboots followed, but the original remained unmatched in raw intensity. Its success proved that atmosphere, commitment, and authenticity could outweigh budget size. If you made it this far, you're clearly built for this movie. Before we go, make sure to hit like and subscribe so the algorithm doesn't bury this. Drop a comment and tell us which horror movie you'd like to see us break down next. We'll catch you in the next one.